welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be going through why my first ever triathlon was such a disaster. Luckily, it wasn't all too much my fault, or anyone's fault really, but it's definitely an interesting day, so make sure you keep watching to find out what happened. For those of you who don't know, the triathlon that I entered was called the Big East Triathlon, a middle distance triathlon with a slightly shorter swim. It was meant to be 1.6 kilometers swim. But yeah, that's kind of all in the lead up as a practice event going into a full distance triathlon, which I'll be doing in 2 months' time. I suppose what I'll do is start from the beginning of the day and then take you through kind of each event and what happened throughout the day. So Harry, my coach, for those of you who don't know, Harry Palmer, link to his channel, it will be in the description below. He's very knowledgeable with triathlon and much better than I am at it. But yeah, he's my coach, so he put together sort of a race plan for me. And in that race plan, Harry mentioned to get up a few hours early, which is kind of your typical thing to do before an event. Get up a few hours early, make sure you've got everything ready, have a bit of breakfast, have a coffee, do whatever you need to do, ready for, and fuel up a little bit, ready for race day. So I did that and that all went fine, got everything together, triple checked that everything was there that I needed for transition. My dad came and picked me up, he came along to the event with me. Also big shout out to him, because all this footage that we see throughout this video was all from him on his phone. And if he weren't there and didn't do that, then I wouldn't have a video to make. So yeah, cheers Dad. But yeah, got up, got breakfast done, made sure I had everything, got to the event. It was, my initial thoughts of the event, it's actually a bit bigger than I was expecting. I was expecting a really small local event. Ended up being about, I think there was 250 to 300 competitors throughout the day. So it was a bit of a bigger turnout than I was expecting, which isn't a bad thing. So then we picked up my race pack, got all my numbers. I was number 64, as you can see. Yeah, so picked up race pack, got all my numbers sorted, and then I went into transition and got all my bikes sorted, got everything set up as I wanted, got it all set up in a way that I think worked. It seemed to work when I did go through the transitions, but we'll get to that later. So obviously at the start of a triathlon, you have the swim. Basically, a few days before the event, I had an email come through which said that they wasn't sure if the swim was going to go ahead, and if it was likely to be shortened due to sea temperature, basically. So when we got there, they still hadn't made the decision, and we got there about an hour before. The start time was around 9:30, and it didn't get announced until, I think it might have been maybe 10 past, 9:15, that the swim was going to be going ahead. They checked with British Triathlon Organisation, and I think the temperature, I can't remember if it was 11 or 12 degrees, but basically it was warm enough that it was able to go ahead, but it had to be shortened. So then it dropped down from a 1.6 kilometre swim to a 1 kilometre swim. So I got my wetsuit on, got everything on, got ready. I had made sure everything was set up as I wanted, got down to the water. It was a time trial start, so where you have like one person go every 3 to 5 seconds. So they let everyone go. I was, I think I was about, out of the 250, 300 people, I was in about 60th or 70th place. Obviously it's a time trial start, so it doesn't matter where you come in or out of the water or whatever, but got in, and I'm not gonna lie, the first sort of 200 meters, I was full like panic attack mode. I should have done more open water swimming going into this race, or just not book this race, because I hate open water swimming. I tell a lie, I hate sea swimming. I don't mind lakes and rivers and stuff like that. It's just the sea. It makes me feel sick and dizzy and horrible. So yeah, got in, was in for a bit of a shock. The water was absolutely freezing. I couldn't get my head in. I was swimming with my head up for like a few meters, and then I realised that was just, couldn't keep that going. And I was getting water in my mouth because I was trying to do this and get my head out of the way and not get it in the water. And then obviously it was quite choppy. It was really quite choppy. I wasn't expecting it, and I was having like, sort of waves hit me. Yeah, it was horrible for the first like 200 meters. I was even doing a bit of breaststroke. My pace was off, my stroke was off, everything was just off. And to be honest with you, I was having doubts as to whether I was even going to finish the swim. It was horrible. I hated it. But after about 200-300 meters, I thought, oh, just get your head in the water, stop being an idiot. Like, I calmed down a little bit. I was just like, look, it's just a bit of cold water, stop worrying. So I got my head in the water and picked things up, and I was fine. As soon as I got my head in the water and I got back to my normal stroke, everything felt fine. But it did mean that then first few hundred meters really slowed down my pace for the overall swim. So it was a shocking swim. It was terrible. Yeah, so it ended up being about 1,250-ish meters. My pace, I did it in 24 minutes. My pace was terrible. It was 2 minutes per 100 yards. In the pool, I was up in way faster than that. So it was just all off. But I know that next time I need more practice in open water swimming, or just don't pick this type of event, which is probably what I'll do. So at the start, I was swimming at like 205 per 100 yards, and by the end I was swimming like 145 per 100 yards. So you can tell that I sort of picked things up as I kind of got used to it. But it's all a learning curve, and that's why I did this event. It's a practice run. Got out the swim, came out smiling, because I was just like, oh well, just enjoy the day now. You're not going to be in for a crazy good time. Not that I was aiming for a crazy good time for this event, but you know. Anyway, got out of that, came into transition. Transition went really, really well. I did that a lot faster than I was expecting. I think because where I've surfed a lot previously, I'm pretty used to getting on and off a wetsuit. So, and I obviously wore my surf wetsuit, which again, I think might have been a bit of a mistake because my shoulders were a bit sore, but I don't know whether that was just because of the cold water and, you know, whatever, not being used to swimming in a wetsuit much and stuff, that my, because my stroke was off, that my shoulder started aching. I don't know, but my shoulders were a little bit sore coming out. Again, not that that was much of a problem. Yeah, into transition, everything went really, really well. Got everything. I was a lot quicker than most people actually in transition, which was good. Made up a little bit for the swim, and then got everything sorted. Got onto the bike, and then as I got onto the bike, as soon as I started going, I was like, I felt amazing. Like I felt really, really good on the bike. I felt so fast. My aero position felt solid. Everything felt so good. I was like, oh, do you know what? This event won't be too bad. I'm going to make up some serious time here. I overtook, in the first maybe 10 minutes, I must have overtaken at least 30 people. Like with it, I don't know, it felt really, really solid, the bike. I don't know what it was, and that was going into a headwind. And this is where things started going downhill even more. So obviously we had the swim that was cut short. We started having people coming back the other way with like in the event. And I was like, hang on, I'm not sure what's going on here, because I know that that's definitely not on the route, because I've done the course recce. I've done the course before, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. I only saw a few, and I thought, oh, maybe they're stopping for some reason, or whatever the reason, they're going back. Carried on going. There's this other guy in front of me who was really, really fast, and we were kind of both going together. I think he was getting the same sort of feeling. He was like, wait, why were there people? And then we started seeing more and more people, and then we heard a few people shout at us. Obviously we were both going past each other quite fast, so we didn't actually hear what they said, but basically I then cycled up to this guy and I was like, do you know what's going on? Everyone seems to be going back the other way. Ended up basically getting 4 miles up the road and there being a road closure due to a car. I'm not sure, I heard all sorts of different things. I heard that it was a lorry overturned, that it was a car accident, that it was a tractor. But basically there might have been an air ambulance. For whatever reason, I hope anyone, if that was a car accident or whatever, everyone's okay. I'm not too sure what happened exactly, but yeah, basically the road ended up getting closed. So we cycled back to where we knew a marshal was. Once we got back to this marshal, we saw that the marshal had us stopped. A lot of people behind us, they kind of just stopped them. So there was this big group of cyclists. I didn't get any footage of this, unfortunately, because I didn't carry a camera on me, and obviously my dad was back in transition. But there was this big group of cyclists, and we were all stopped, and we're like, I don't really know what's going on. Is the bike going to get cancelled? Are they going to reroute it? Is the whole event going to get cancelled? We had no idea what was going on, and we ended up sitting there for about, it must have been half an hour, sort of twiddling our thumbs and not knowing what to do at all. And I was just like, oh, what else could go wrong? We've had the swim cut short, where I had a mild panic attack in the water. We had now the bike. Just as soon as I started feeling strong and felt like, let's get into the race now, literally got 10-15 minutes in and had to stop. I think the marshals or the people running the event tried to figure out a way to reroute it. Ended up couldn't figure it out for whatever reason, and the bike got cancelled. So swim cut short, bike's now cancelled. We ended up all turning around, heading back to transition. It was just an easy spin. This is how solid I felt. It was just an easy spin, and we were going, obviously we had tailwind, but I was going, at an easy pace at 28, 29 miles per hour in aero, going back to transition. I'll put all of this up so you can see kind of what I mean. This is obviously where I was averaging 23, 24 miles per hour, and then you see this drop here, and that's obviously where we had to stop and slow down, and then it gets back up and we're in 27, 28, 29 miles per hour going back into transition. So I think that it was a fast day for me on the bike. I think I would have put in a really solid time, which is good signs. At least we did a little bit of the bike, I suppose. But yeah, the bike got cancelled. Back to transition. Everyone was a bit like, oh, well, what's going on now? What do we do? Then we heard an announcement that the run is still going to go ahead, just kind of as usual. So get your running gear on if you want to do it, and you can go out and just do the run. So basically it ended up just being a running event in the end. I got back into transition. I wanted to kind of do, although it wasn't like a competitive transition or whatever, I wanted to still get the idea of what a transition is going to feel like from a bike to a run. So I got back and kind of tried to get my running gear on as quickly as possible and act like it was a proper transition, which I did. Got my running stuff on. We were all standing around again for like another 20 minutes, freezing as well, may I add. It was cold, and obviously because we weren't moving. We kicked off the run. I was expecting, this was my own fault, this isn't something that I could avoid, but I was expecting it to be all road. It wasn't. It was horrible trails. I'll put up some photos here of the event, and as you can see, it's just this grass sort of trail. Was probably for at least 60-70%, I reckon, of the run. It was like this. Ended up overall on the run putting in a good solid effort. I'm really happy with my pace, which I'll get into in a second. But obviously there was something that went wrong on the run as well. So we had the swim cut short, the bike got cancelled, then on the run it was two 10k loops or two 10.5k loops or whatever it was. After the first loop I was running by myself, so I didn't have anyone in front of me. I got back into, or roughly where transition was, and I think the marshal, because there was on the day there was the standard distance triathlon going on as well as this half one. I think the marshal thought that I was doing, for whatever reason, I was doing the 10k event. So he directed me over, so there's like sort of three ways. There was one that kind of curved round, which is the way I was meant to go, and there was two that came straight out like this. The marshal directed me into this two like this. One was the finish line, for obviously the 10k, and then for once you've done the second loop. And the other one was back into transition. So I was like, oh, okay. Because he directed me that way, I was like, oh, okay, maybe because I knew that there was an entrance and exit at the back of the transition. So I thought, oh, maybe you have to run back through transition or something. So I ran into transition and then got shouted at. I was like, no, you've gone the wrong way. And I was like, what? And I was like, the marshal's just told me to come this way. A long story short, it dropped about a minute or about a minute, maybe 2 minutes off my time. I ran in, had to speak to the marshals. They go, nope, you've gone the wrong way. Go back out of transition and then get back onto the, it's just a bit of a mess for that bit, which was really frustrating because, like I say, I felt really strong on the run, and I was going at quite a good pace. After that was the only sort of mishap on the run. Got it done in the end and averaged a 6:47 minute per mile. It was a little bit short of the half marathon. It was about 13 miles and I did it in 1 hour 27 minutes, which I'm really happy with. That's a PB for me, and I felt solid pretty much the whole way through it. It wasn't any too much difference in paces or anything throughout the run. So overall, a solid effort, especially considering that it was them horrible trails, which obviously are really slow. And on the second loop, it actually rained, so the trails became really boggy, which was horrible. And the whole, you can see kind of the map on Strava here. That whole sort of section by the sea, that was all headwind, really strong headwind, and that was where the sort of trail, or most of the trails were. So yeah, it actually made out for it to be quite a hard run. That was about it. This was the medal we got, although hardly really completed much of it. But yeah, luckily I spoke to Harry after the event and he said, you know, you've controlled everything that you've controlled. You felt solid. You did well on the bits that you could, apart from the swim maybe. But so, you know, it wasn't a bad event. It was a good practice event, because now obviously I'm never going to have a swim as horrible as that one was, because of the current, the tide, how strong it was, because the choppiness of the sea, because it was salt water, because it was freezing cold. I'm never going to have another swim like that. So that's, you know, good preparation. It's just good preparation for anything that goes wrong. I can kind of adjust and replan. Obviously my nutrition I hit, which was all on point. I hit everything that I wanted to. Obviously I couldn't really do most of it because it was, a lot of it would have been on the bike, but nevertheless, it is what it is. That's my first triathlon. I don't even know, could you call, I suppose I did swim, bike and run, so yeah, I'll call it, yeah. I suppose that's my first triathlon ticked off. Coming off the back of that, I ended up booking another triathlon, which is going to be in 2.5 weeks time. That's actually going to be, Harry's going to be there with me on that one, or I'm going to be joining him. He had it booked, so I thought I'd tag along and go to that one, and that's a standard distance triathlon, and hopefully the event doesn't quite go like it did this one. But yeah, I'll end the video here and stop rambling on. That is my first triathlon race experience, very weird one. If you've got any weird event or triathlon or any weird stories that have gone on during your events, then let me know in the comments, because I'd like to hear them. Might be quite funny to do. But yeah, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you are new, like the video, and yeah, I will see you next time for some more triathlon related content.